Director of Playground NYC up in New York. And so this is, Playground NYC is one of 7 accredited adventure playgrounds left in America. And what I mean by accredited is that it lives the full definition of adventure playground, and so there's only 7. And so I talked to her a lot about the roles of adults and what that actually looks like, and about my specific circumstances, and she helped me gauge like how involved adults should be, because I have a much tighter schedule than they do. They have 3 months to build a playground, and there's not scheduled times when kids are coming, whereas I had 2 weeks and 45-minute blocks for the most part. And so she helped me a lot. Also getting over my fears, because I'm a very controlling person, and so I like to know how things are going to work out in the end. And I was putting it completely in the kids' hands, so I had to trust that they were going to come up with something great and essentially create my project. And so she told me, swords are going to happen, don't be scared. It doesn't matter what it looks like, it really matters the quality of the experience. And so I kind of had to hold that with me moving through the whole project. And so as far as the logistics of the project, I had to schedule with all the lower school teachers about bringing their kids up. So I reached out to K through 5 because I didn't have time to pick and choose. And I was thinking, okay, 50 kids, 2 build days, that'll be good. I'll get a playground, great. Well, they all responded. And so then I had 6 build days over 2 weeks with K through 5, and I had to gear the activity for all of those grade levels for, in total, 9 hours of building. And so then I had to worry about materials. And so one of the road bumps I ran into is Mr. Mealy wasn't going to be in town starting my first build day and ending my last build day. And so I was going to be completely on my own out there doing this. And we had originally talked about using natural materials that are available out there, like tree trunks and rocks and things like that. But a couple of things happened on his way out of town, and 3 days before my first build day, he's like, I'm sorry, Madison, I really just don't have the time to get this together. We're going to have to come up with another plan, or maybe you're not going to be able to build a playground. So I start panicking because I have 3 days until I have 25th graders coming for 2 hours, and I have to find all these materials. And so I had already been talking about my project with everyone who would listen, teachers, parents, people at church, and that's my biggest tip for people who are going to be doing senior projects, is talk to everyone about your project, because you never know what will come out of it. And I happened to run into Mr. McCoy and talk to him, and he's like, oh, I just so happen to have all this scrap wood on my back porch, and I really don't want it back, so please take it away. And it was already painted, and it was all colorful and nice, and so took all that wood. I went around to Home Depots around town and just asked them to give me as much wood as they could, and I had to buy 20 hammers and nails, and so they gave me discounts. I asked the school for tax exemption, and I got that. And so by using resources and just talking a lot, I was able to save a lot of money and get what I needed. And so I also, for the location, it's up behind the school on Crew Park, right up the road to Narnia, so easy access, but it was in a shady spot, and so it worked out well. And so there was a bunch of little road bumps within all that. I went to Home Depot for 7 days in a row one week, sometimes more than once in a day, and I looked really lost the entire time. But it was a great learning experience having to go through all that on my own with a tight deadline and having to problem solve. My mom had to spend Mother's Day driving through a neighborhood looking for free scrap wood, so it's okay though. So then for the actual execution of the project, all the different build days, so I had K through 5 come out on different days. All the build days looked very different because the personalities of each group were very different. But every single group got hammers, free wielding of hammers, so even kindergartners, and they were able to do it. But the first build day started with 5th grade, and I had 2 hours. And they just jumped right in. They were building things, they were having a great time. And 2 hours I found was really the ideal amount of time, because they got in there, they tested out the materials, which were unfamiliar to them for the most part. They had time to start realizing a concept, have it not work out in some way, troubleshoot, finish the project, and then play on it, and then go play on their friends and exchange ideas and sometimes build something else. And so they all worked together really well. And a teacher actually told my sponsor, you don't understand, these kids aren't actually friends with each other, a lot of them, but they're working together building this playground, which is amazing to see. And I think a lot of the adults, I had more than I needed up there. I had 4, and most of us were just standing around. And so, the kids knew what they were doing. They were the experts. And then for build number 2, I had 3rd graders. And so we actually have one of the 3rd graders who helped in the room. And anyways, so they were very different because I had two 45-minute sessions with third graders, 25 kids in each, back to back. And so I had no time to recover in between, and we had to switch really quick. And so I had to completely rearrange the experience differently because they didn't have time to necessarily finish what they were working on. But even in that, I observed that they were still getting the benefits of engaging in a creative challenge because I could tell from walking around, even though they didn't get the feeling of, oh, I finished this, but some of them helped finish the first group's projects and they were working together really well, even if they had a tighter deadline. And then the fourth build day was first grade, and so they're really little, and a lot of people were like, are you sure that first graders can handle hammers? And all of them went for the hammers. They all wanted to try it out, and some of them, eventually were like, this is really hard. We want to move to zip ties and duct tape and cardboard. But a lot of them really went for it and were successful. And so even little kids were able to do that without us hovering on top of them.